And Robert Gottliebson will be on the show later on to speak about this. But now let's bring in National Senator Matt Canavan and Chief Economist at the Institute of Public Affairs, Adam Crichton. Welcome to you both. Look, I want to start with the shadow cabinet. Now, we're going to get to net zero in a moment, Matt. But Matt, you ran against David Littleproud for leader and you've chosen not to be in shadow cabinet. But your friend Barnaby Joyce, your colleague Michael McCormack were dumped. That's not the best decision to have experienced former leaders, to leave them on the backbench, is it?
Yeah, look, Sharri, I'm probably going to disappoint you. I just don't really care too much about who's who in the zoo. It's never
it's
really
not
been
who's who in the zoo. It's putting forward the best coalition team so that they can win against Anthony Albanese. Surely, Matt, you care about kicking the Albanese government out. And you need your best team to do that.
I do care about that. I do care about that, Sharri. But just on that point, as a general rule, I'm just not so sure that the lineup of the shadow cabinet makes that much difference. I mean, every parliamentarian, all of us have the ability to hold an executive government to account in the Senate or the House of Reps and through committee processes, whatever we are in. I mean, one of the more effective campaigns I ever saw against an elected government was by Tim Wilson, a colleague of mine. Give him his due against the franking credits. Now, Tim wasn't a member of the shadow ministry when he did that work and took down effectively, or at least a big part of the government on that issue. And so I just think all of us could focus a little bit more about that job. That's our first job, to oppose the government in the parliament. It actually doesn't matter too much. Yeah, look, the leaders matter, that sort of stuff, but you know that's been done now. I support both leaders making the best deal of this they can. But yeah, who's in every particular portfolio? I'm not sure it's going to make that much difference at the election in a few years' time.
Adam, would you agree that there are a lot of talented players left on the backbench, that this shadow cabinet hasn't been appointed based on merit in some cases?
Well, look, Sharri, I think I'll probably disappoint you as well. I mean, I think you're being slightly harsh on Susan Lee. I mean, she's just appointed the people that she thinks will maximise her time in the job, like any leader does, whether they're Prime Minister or Leader of the Opposition. She's done that. Look, I agree, it's somewhat amusing that the number of women has dropped from 11 to 8 in the shadow ministry, but of course we're always listening to all this talk about, well, we always hear all this talk about the importance of women, but of course in reality it's just rhetoric. You know, I mean, neither side actually believes in it. One vote is one vote, whether you're male or female, and that's what informs the decisions of both the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition. So look, there are some people, you know, there's lots of talented people in the Parliament. And, you know, I want the opposition to be a functioning and effective opposition, so I wish Susan Lee well. Look, let's just wait and see what happens, right? There's always fallouts. I mean, Tony Abbott famously said that, you know, every time there's a reshuffle, you make more enemies than you make friends. But, you know, but she had to appoint a new shadow ministry, and she had to appoint one with her preferences, and that's what's happened. So let's just judge her by that.
Kind of bothers me that not many men are coming out against the fact that four of the most senior coalition women have been dumped. Matt, surely you have a view on that.
Well, look, I want a shadow ministry based on merit. Look, what I would say about some of my female colleagues is they definitely have done, I think, a very good job. I mean, Sarah Henderson did a great job as education spokesperson, but look, some people have to be appointed and sometimes some people miss out. There are talented people right across the Liberal and National parties, so I do feel for Sarah, for Claire, for Jane, all who have contributed enormously to our party in the last few years. But yeah, they'll continue to contribute, and I've been in contact with all of them today and said, hey, life on the backbench ain't too bad. You can have lots of fun and still achieve a lot. I feel like I've achieved a lot in the last few years as a senator for Queensland. So it's a great honour to have this role. It's an even greater honour sometimes to be in a ministerial role, but let's be real here. We got thumped at the election and we're talking about shadow ministers, not ministers. So there's a big difference.
It's a big difference, of course, but the issue is you need the absolute top fighting coalition team to have even a chance at clawing back the 30-plus seats that is ahead of the coalition to try and regain the ability to govern, and that's not going to happen with the current team. All right, let's turn to net zero because I know you're desperate to speak about that, Matt. Now, there are Liberals speaking out saying that net zero needs to be kept. Zoe McKenzie is one of them, which Barnaby Joyce, then on with Andrew Bolt, argued against. Have a look.
I am personally optimistic that we will continue to observe the net zero goal. It is important for an electorate like mine, where environment is very highly valued, but more importantly, it's very important in the minds of the people in Australia's metropolitan seats. There are 88 of them, and my side of politics only now holds 8.
If you ever question them, you're abhorrent. You want the kiddies to instantaneously combust. It's guarded in guilt. And we suck this rubbish up. And we should be turning around saying, no to net zero.
Adam, this is clearly going to divide the Liberal Party and potentially the coalition.
Yes, look, but I think if the coalition opposes it, they're just going to be getting ahead of public opinion. I know net zero is still popular because most people think it means pollution, but of course it's got nothing to do with pollution. It's a great slogan, net zero. But as energy prices keep rising 10% year after year after year, I think more people are going to realise that it is because of the changes in the energy market that the government is leading. So, and you look at New Zealand, you look at the UK Tories, you look at Northern Territory, Queensland, you look at the US and China and India. I mean, all these jurisdictions are really not paying any attention to net zero. And it's just somewhat laughable that Australia, is such a small economy relative to the rest of the world, so few carbon emissions relative to the rest of the world is going to destroy its economy to pursue net zero. So I think it's eventually going to change. I mean, I don't like betting. I'm not a gambling man, but I would certainly bet that in the next 6 years, net zero will be dumped as a target by both major parties. There's no question in my mind.